What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie. Just finished listening to every single available out there Winter 1976 Frank Zappa tour, bootleg, cassette tape, official release, whatever is out there in the universe, which was material representing 35 different shows. And now, after having done that, these are my final thoughts on this tour. Everything I learned while listening to every show in order. I have 8 little segments I'm going to talk about. And at the end, I will, show where this tour ranks. In my pre-ranking, in which I did years ago before I actually revisited every show, now that I'm literally going to try to revisit every show available over the course of who knows how many years, I will put my where it ranks now after 1.5 other tours. So yeah, let's get on to it. We're not going to play music from this tour, but if you want to hear this band, we do have an official release out there, which is FC Aussie. Also, we have Black Napkins is from this tour. There's a Zoodle Lures on Frank Zappa Plays the Music of Frank Zappa that's on this tour. But anyways, yeah, let's get on with a deep dive into Frank Zappa Winter 76. Part 1, the band. Who's in the band? We have Napoleon Murphy Brock. He's been around since 73, fall of 73. I'm a big Napoleon Murphy Brock fan. I will say this does sound like his last legs. Saxophone-wise, I think he's still killing it. He's got some great solos that he drops in Black Napkins, drops a really good solo in Chunga's Revenge. Every once in a while, he's playing some good solos in songs throughout the music of a song. It is his singing where it's like, all right, Napoleon, I think it's time for Frank to move on. But this is his last tour of many. The original bass player from the Mothers is on bass. He's got some good moments and some jams where I think the bass definitely steps up. He was here in fall 75. This would be his last tour, though unfortunately he would appear at the Halloween 77 shows. Yeah. On keyboards, Andre Lewis, who I really, really like. My view of Andre Lewis has gone up quite a bit listening to every single show. I really like his synth solos. He drops amazing solos in Filthy Habits. He's got some pretty good solos in Advanced Romance, Chunga's Revenge. Some of the most interesting stuff on this tour. The Chunga's Revenge, eventually once it gets established, it's Napoleon, the weirdness little thing in which the bass player is doing his opera singing and there's weird stuff, and then an Andre Lewis solo. Those Chunga's Andre Lewis solos are amazing, are fantastic. So he's doing a really good job. Every once in a while, he's got some sort of he's doing some vocal stuff with Napoleon, maybe doing some ad-libbing stuff during his solos. So little vocal duties here and there. But for the most part, a really nice synth-heavy, proggy keyboard player that I think his strength is competing with Frank and I'm going to solo, you're going to solo. He sets up Frank really nicely in the solos. Terry Bozzio on drums. Bozzio has been around since Bongo Fury. He would still be around till Winter 78 as a touring member, so he's still got a ways to go. And Frank on guitar and vocals. So that is the band. And I would say it's probably one of the more limited Frank bands about what they can do. When we look at the set list, you will see that. I do think Andre steps up and Napoleon steps up as far as their solos go. I enjoy their solos, so that's good. And Terry is Bozzio's just fantastic. And the bass player's doing better than I would have thought he did. Again, not the most ridiculously talented Frank band. Still a talented Frank band because it's a Frank band. But I don't know. I thought they kind of delivered considering. Set list. That right there is what your core Winter 76 set list look like. After about a week and a half, 2 weeks into the tour, Frank had pretty much established this as the set list. As we go through the tour, some of these things would be dropped with about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks left, maybe 3 weeks. If you look down towards the bottom, Wind Up Working at a Gas Station gets dropped, Trying to Grow a Chin gets dropped, and then The Torture Never Stops doesn't get dropped, but it's out of rotation and maybe comes back. I think at the time this happens, there's about 14 shows left. I think Torture shows up in like half of them, maybe a little less than half. So Torture becomes a little bit of a hit and miss. And for the most part, this is what you get every show. Every once in a while, because of technical difficulties, there's no Poodle lecture, which we will applaud. And then Unfortunately, every once in a while, as we get to the bottom of the list, Frank will either maybe not play Zoodalures or maybe skip a Ship Ahoy and just cut it short. So we do get some sort of shrinkage on the back end as the tour gets on and he starts doing like matinees and evening shows, and maybe he doesn't have as much time as he has. And apart from this, we do get a number of sort of other things that are in the set list right there. Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy is the first show left over from fall. What else? The We're Only In It For The Money melody, that's left over from fall. That would only get played once, and that is fantastic. Take Your Clothes Off, Lonely Little Girl. What's the Ugliest would go right into Chunga's Revenge. The segue from What's the Ugliest into Chunga's is fantastic. Finder Finer, Kaiser Rolls, and Keep It Greasy. Keep It Greasy would get played once and then dropped. Finder Finer, Kaiser Rolls had a couple more performances to go. Same with Let's Move to Cleveland, but I don't think any of those made it out of Australia, which was the first batch of shows way back in the beginning of the tour. The tour runs from January 20th to March 13th, 1976. And then the two kind of cool things, Disco Boy, the music only pops up, jamming at the end of a couple Zoodalures, Ship Ahoys. Miss Pinky, same thing, jamming at the end of some Zoodalures / Ship Ahoys. And then a weird little doo-wop number that could have been a Reuben and the Jets-esque type thing called Song for Pinky pops up at the very end of the tour in the middle of what I believe is a Chunga's Revenge, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, a very Pinky-inspired doo-wop number. So yeah, those were other things that popped up in the set list. Yeah, so that's that. Frank, number 3, Frank. Frank is the thing. Frank almost cancels out his overall effect on this tour. The positive, his guitar playing, his guitar playing, his guitar playing. There are a lot of guitar solos, and they are, for the most part, great. Night after night after night. Inca Road's intro. Sometimes, early and late, especially in the tour, Frank would drop a solo in this part. Always amazing, always fantastic. We need more of those, Frank. Stinkfoot solo. During Stinkfoot solo, that solo would set the tone for the rest of the show. If Stinkfoot was aggressive, other solos were aggressive. Stinkfoot was contemplative, other solos, like the vibe. It literally was, Stinkfoot was almost like, here is your menu. This is the kind of food you'll be eating for the rest of the night. Amazing the way it did that. Dirty Love, short to the point, brief little solo. Filthy Habits, early contender for one of the MVPs of the tour, just because these solos were menacing and dark and evil. I eventually think other things overtook it as far as being consistent night after night. There were nights where I think Andre's solo and a couple times Napoleon's Filthy Habits solos might have been better than Frank's, but for the most part, Filthy Habits was one of those things you could rely on to deliver just a really good, menacing kind of evil solo. Black Napkins, awesome solos. The February solos, we hear one of those on Zoodalures, a much shrunken version of that, is amazing. It's a beast. Black Napkins, so many times. Probably one of the best Black Napkin solos he's ever played in his life came from a show on this tour in which he just went ballistically metal crazy for like 6 full minutes in response to a crowd that was talking, and he wanted to get them to shut up, and boy, did he do a good job. Yeah, so Black Napkins, absolutely amazing. Advanced Romance, absolutely amazing. The Andre solos, Frank solos, very seldom did they stick to that Advanced Romance vamp, and they were a little more exploratory. Super fantastic. Illinois Enema Bandit, the redeeming factor of this song. Those solos were pretty interesting. Torture Never Stops. Frank does not know what to do with this song. He did not know what to do with Illinois Enema Bandit at this point. I'm not sure he knows what to do with Advanced Romance at this point, but he's looking, and the search is fun. And I think the Torture Never Stops probably went the darkest, deepest, weirdest points, especially once it became like an every other show type thing. Those tortures got weird, and they got good. And then Zoodalures into Ship Ahoy, just magnificent, beautiful, stately, exploratory, weird, calmly psych. The Ship Ahoy stuff using that voltage controlled filter, just amazing stuff. A couple of the late tour Ship Ahoys were not even Ship Ahoys. They were just jams that sounded like nothing else. Just some Frank. And then in the encores, every once in a while we get a Muffin Man would pop up in there. a Slime Berdino. Both of those would have short little solos. So yeah, those were the encores for this. Dynamo Hum, Slime Berdino, and then Camarillo Man were basically what you get for encores. But Frank's guitar playing, it is the thing that elevated this tour. Unfortunately, Frank talking is the thing that brought this tour down. Poodle Lecture. Yeah, that gets rough to listen to night after night after night. It's rough to listen to if you only see it once. So, but it's nowhere near as bad as the intro to Illinois Enema Bandit. The intro to Illinois Enema Bandit is just rough. It's just Frank celebrating assault for 4 minutes with props, making jokes. He has something against women. We know that. There is a thesis to be written just based on his introductions on this tour. There are definite shows when you can, the audience recording, you can hear the audience and they're not too happy about what's happening, and you can almost feel an uneasiness in it. And Frank almost feels like he rushes his monologue, never abandons it, rushes it. Then there's a couple black napkins where he decides to talk all the way through black napkins. I'm going to play for a minute, then I'm going to talk. I'm going to play for a minute, then I'm going to talk. We don't need that. At times the Illinois hurt. And it wasn't for the fact that the solos were like, all right, maybe the solo will redeem us. Poodle Lectures hurt. Fortunately, those are early in the show. And by the time we get to the end, we forget about them. So Frank's a little hit and miss on this one. A lot of his like chip on the shoulder type things towards women, towards crowds, towards people in general seem to be coming through. But then a lot of times he just shuts up and plays his guitar and everything's well. So I think Frank ultimately comes out on top, but he's trying to undermine the effectiveness of those guitar solos. Number 4, the big ones. We really don't have big ones here. We do get a Filthy Habits at one point where there's technical problems, so we get a number of different solos, so it's stretched out a little bit. But it definitely feels a little controlled and not too chaotic. Chunga's Revenge is probably the closest thing we have to a big one. We get a really good sax solo. We get some psych weirdness where the bass player early on is doing a solo. By the end of the tour, he's pretty much just singing about Miss Pinky. Some interesting Frank rhythm guitar. Usually the segue into whatever Andre solo sounds like is pretty fantastic. Then Bozio gets a drum solo. And then I'd like to think that like the Zoodalures is part of Chunga's, and that's just what this guitar solo sounds like, and that later on it became Zoodalures. Don't know when he named it, but that's the monster of the show. Doesn't really seem to qualify as a monster song as some other things on other tours are, but that's kind of indicative of this 75, 76, 77 era is we're a little more arena rock, not quite as jazzy or improvisational or just weird as other eras are. So as far as the big ones go, song-wise, it really is the Chunga Zoot Ship Ahoy part at the end. And sometimes those are just mind-blowing, fantastic. Go listen to Frank Zappa plays the music of Frank Zappa. That Zoodalure Ship Ahoy is from one of these shows, one of the best things ever. Just amazing. So yeah, that would probably be what the big one is. A Chunga's Zoot ship to close out every main set. Special treats. All right. Talked about the special treats earlier, but the special treats really are the Miss Pinky Disco Boy jams that occur during the Zoodalures, which he'll do Zoot, explore, do Ship Ahoy, maybe explore, and then just go into this Miss Pinky jam. It's the chords to Miss Pinky. Bozio will yell some stuff, and then Frank knocks off some pretty tasty solos. Disco Boy doesn't quite get the jammed out solo effect, but we do get a couple Disco Boy teases. Later in the tour, we get a song called Song for Miss Pinky, which is his little doo-wop number that appears to be written. It occurs once. I don't think you need to listen to the show just because of that, but if you do, it's there. But yeah, and I guess early in the tour, that's one of the reasons why when you see the ranking of the shows, the official release FC Aussie is ranked so highly, is because we do get that Carolina. We do get that We're Only in It for the Money medley, which is beautiful. We do get those special songs, which are left over from 75, but didn't quite make it through 76. So I really guess those are the special treats. Other than that, you get a Filthy Habits that kind of gets jammed out. Every once in a while, there's technical difficulties and you don't get a poodle lecture. That's a special treat. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward night after night after night. You know what you're going to get kind of tour. Platonic Ideals. What songs, this category is what song in this live version is the platonic ideal for this song. And I had, on the previous tour, I thought Black Napkins, when I did Winter 77, that was the peak of Black Napkins. Every tour after that, it's not going to be as epic. The tours before that, it's building to Winter 77. For this one, Filthy Habits qualifies. Like Filthy Habits was not played all that often as a regular touring song. And so it's kind of like in there by default. But this is definitely the tour where Filthy Habits like flexes its muscles. And if you're going to listen to any Filthy Habits, it's this one. Black Napkins, it's still evolving. Advanced Romance, though. Advanced Romance, definitely, this song would get played a lot, especially when we get to the 80s. It would be Secret Word Abused Like Crazy in 84. But this one, with Andre, with this band, with Frank solos, the energy of this Advanced Romance, I think, is the best version of this Advanced Romance. Everything else is a pale imitation of this, even going backwards in time. Illinois Enema Bandit, no, as much as I don't like that song, it will get better. You know, little things like Wind Up Working and Trying to Grow Chin, they don't really count. They're not going to evolve. Torture Never Stops. I've always thought it was Winter 78. I'm still going to argue that it's Winter 78. But man, do I really like the vibe on this Torture. The intro is just Frank on his guitar going doo-doo, doo. It's really kind of ominous and low-key. His solos are all over the map weird. Kind of like Torture Never Stops was a contender, but I do think it evolves, and I do think when it has that Chattanooga choo-choo thing in Winter 78 and those good solos, Rat Tamago is from there, Stage 1 is from there. I think that's the peak for Torture. Chungas, I don't know. There's lots of versions of Chungas I like. But Zoodalores, this is the peak of Zoodalores. It would disappear until the 80s when it would come back and be a regular opener, you know, once we get farther into the 80s, 82, 84, on like that. But this is it. The skeletal opening, as you can hear on Stage 3, that exploratory guitar solo that's still pretty low-key, but it's out there and it's kind of trippy and psych. And Frank gets weird, but the band usually stays kind of pulled back to let Frank's weirdness kind of just be on like an open plain, just exploring without mountains or anything in the way. And then the Ship Ahoy is just, it's attached to it. It's part of the Zoodalores DNA at this point, and it provides so many just magical special moments that don't occur. I'm having a hard time saying the word occur. I'm not even going to say that. Don't happen. Why can I not say that word? Happen in other tours. So, without a doubt, Zoodalores / Ship Ahoy, this is the platonic ideal of that on this tour. Forest or a tree? So, having listened to every single show, is this a show where I think you kind of need to get in there and visit as many trees as possible to get a really good sense of what this tour is about? Or can you just find the perfect tree, cut it down, take it home, and that could be it? And even though I think you do need more than one tree, because we already have that first show of the tour, which isn't really representative of the rest of the tour, I do think I personally would be happy. We have 76 is coming up. The 50th anniversary is next year. I'm happy with maybe a 2-show box set release. I think you probably only need one show. And actually, maybe my ideal is one show late in the tour. And these are what my top 10 shows look like right there. And if you'll notice, we have like a couple January shows. We have like 4 February shows, which all happen to be near the top. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 March shows. So it's pretty well spread out. Like, it's a consistent tour from start to finish. But man, My understanding is those Japan shows, they have the music, but they don't have any vocals, so we can't get releases from those. That fourth show, probably one of the best Black Napkins ever. Those March shows are all really good. Maybe sound quality knocks the ranking down on those. But you give me two of those shows, or even one of those shows, and then maybe a bonus disc of just the really good solos from like other things that you have available. I think that's enough to get a good sense of what this tour is. This is not one of those where like, man, you got to listen to all 10 of those shows on that list to really get an understanding. No, they all just have really great solos and really great performances, but you will get a good sense of this tour if you listen to one show. And again, that's the list right there. Pick one of those. You will get a really good sense of what this show, of what this tour is like if you just get one of those shows. You might not get all the songs, but you'll understand this. You'll understand this band. Which leaves us with the last, number 8 on my list of things to talk about, MVP. MVP can be a person, it can be a song, it can be a place, it could be a secret word, it can be anything. But the MVP, there were contenders. Filthy Habits, early contender. Andre Lewis, a contender toward up to the end. His solos consistently entertained me. And when Frank started to really kind of funkify and add a lot of funky rhythm guitar to the Chunga's Revenge solos, those solos upped even more. So Andre was bringing it all the time. Black Napkins were good, but I think I already gave that to Winter 77. Torture, I considered it for a while, but it wasn't played all the time, and it did take a while for Torture to get that little bit of a swag. But easily, for me, and Frank, maybe Frank's guitar playing, but his talking, yeah, he loses votes there. But for me, the MVP of the Winter 1976 Frank Zappa Mothers of Invention Tour is Zoodalore's Into Ship Ahoy. Just so many special solos. So many times I wrote, listening to this, is this the best solo of the tour? Is this the best Zoot yet? And then a week later, wait, this is the best Zoot. Wait, there are a lot of really good Zoodalore solos out there. You know where you can start? Frank Zappa Plays the Music of Frank Zappa. Go listen to that sucker right there. It is just 15 minutes of pure guitar, just exploration, beauty. Absolutely magnificent. And that's it. Those are the things I got to talk about for this tour. Right now, as I rank it, that is where it is ranked. That's what the original rankings look like. I haven't moved anything yet. I've highlighted number 1 because I've listened to one leg of that. And then down at the bottom, you see I have Winter 77 and Winter 76 sort of jumping out. I originally thought Winter 77, I did that first and thought, wow, this is much better than I thought. This might be better than Winter 76. I've now listened to both, and while there are fewer things in Winter 77 that I don't like, there is no really long Illinois Enema Bandit every night. Yay. That's a big one. I do think the sheer number of solos, Winter 77, you had a Pound solo, a Torture solo, a Black Napkin solo, and then short things, but those were it. This one, Stinkfoot delivers night after night. Filthy delivers. Black, Advance, Illinois, little hit and miss, but it does. Torture, Zoot, Ship. Those solos are so epic, so consistent, so much fun. So many times I'm like, wow, sound is kind of rough on this tape. Don't need to hear these songs again. Frank drops a solo. I'm like, yeah, that's why I decided to listen to every one, because that solo completely redeemed this process. So I'm keeping this ranking where it is right now. Yeah, it's gonna stay like that. So yeah, that's it. It's currently ranked near the bottom. I've already started listening to the next tour that I'm going to do. I'll post in that video in a couple days on a Saturday. And that tour is ranked much higher than this. And I'm already like, this tour better get better. Because so far anyways, you'll find out on Saturday. But anyways, thanks for watching. That's all I got. Let me know your thoughts on this tour, things I missed, things I messed up on, facts you want to share that I forgot to share. I think I covered everything. I probably forgot a lot. It was a lot, people. But I'm moving on to another tour, and I'm excited. That's all I got. Peace. Talk to you later.